What I need to latch onto is how to thrive, not how to survive.
Mm.
And in order for me to thrive, I have to start looking at my environment as possibilities, not threats.
Hmm.
And the only way to do that is to start my day by drilling into myself. I start with, I am feeling great. And so then that fight or flight calms down and you naturally start to see these opportunities and these things.
Welcome to the Career Change for Women podcast. I'm Brittany Cates, career coach and fellow career shifter, here to help you leave unfulfilling work behind. Every Thursday, I share stories, strategies, and confidence-boosting insights to help you gain clarity, take action, and create a career you love. Let's shift your day job together. Today's guest is Emily Hawkins, a powerhouse coach and expert in helping small business owners streamline their processes, optimize their time, and achieve sustainable growth. Emily specializes in guiding entrepreneurs through transformative changes by offering tailored solutions that drive impactful results. For company assessments to From company assessments to team development and process simplification, Emily helps business owners tackle their unique challenges and build thriving, efficient businesses. Her expertise spans everything from crafting job descriptions to setting key performance indicators, always with a focus on long-term success. If you're ready to take your business to the next level and need a strategic partner to navigate growth and management, this episode will be packed with insights just for you. So please join me in welcoming Emily to the podcast. How are you doing today, Emily?
That was such a sweet introduction. Thank you. I am doing fabulous.
Awesome. I am excited to hear about how you got started in your business, helping other businesses, and maybe what your career looked like at the beginning of your career journey and how it's evolved to where it is today.
Most definitely. So it was a straight line. Everything went the whole way. I'm so glad you're laughing because that's not true. It never is. And where I think would be the most effective to start. So I have 15 years of corporate experience and I saw myself being a corporate leader. It was modeled for me. My mom worked in the corporate world, just assumed that was the direction I would always go. And then about 8 years ago, there was a layoff at the company that I was working at. And I knew about the layoff because I was in upper management, but silly, I felt like it wasn't going to affect me because no one on my team was directly affected. So I was like, oh, these things happen. It's fine. I get into work. This was going to be a 2-day sort of event where they were letting people go. And this was a Thursday, and I had an office that was all glass, so you could see through. And there was a cube right in front of my office that was not anyone that I worked with. It was somebody else in the company. And at 9 a.m. that morning, he was tapped on the shoulder, taken downstairs, and he never came back. And I stared at that cube all day. There was something just haunting about this empty cube of this gentleman that I'd had conversations with. And I knew he'd recently gotten divorced. And I just thought, who did he call? What conversations did he have? Is he crying somewhere? Is he going to be able to make his rent or his house payment? It was eating me up staring at this cube. I went home that day and decided to drink like 2 bottles of wine because that's going to solve everything. And I'm 5 years sober now. But at the time, I was like, this will be the solution. So, spoiler, I woke up the next day feeling worse. And I took my kids to daycare, came home, sat in my backyard, and bawled my eyes out. And I remember distinctly just praying at that point, like, where am I supposed to be? Because this doesn't feel like it. I don't know if I can be in an environment where people it's not a heart count. It's a number on a spreadsheet that we can easily get rid of at any moment. And I don't know what it was in that moment, but something was like, yeah, let's do something different. This can be different and you can be in control of that. And so I remember a few weeks later going to my husband and saying, I have a plan. And I really didn't. My plan was to leave the corporate world. That was my plan. And I just left the how up to, I don't know, the universe or something. But I was like, I know that if I work hard enough and I have a goal, that I can leave the corporate world. And I had a goal of 18 months. It was like, I know I can do this in 18 to 24 months. Our youngest was at that point, with that many months going by, she would have been starting kindergarten. So I said, this is actually perfect because she gets off the school bus and all of this. And he just had this blank look when I was having this conversation. And I was just thinking, oh, this is not going well. And he said, I know you can do it in 12 months. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm so glad that you have this faith in me that I'm like not sure what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it. And it's just interesting how things start showing up. And in the workforce, so many people had said to me that were on my team and other teams, gosh, I talk to you and you plan my career for me. Like you tell me how to move up in the organization. You tell me how to save time. I just feel like you should be a life coach. And I had heard this for a while and decided to take a certification because I, at that point, was like, if I don't have a certification, then it's not real. Find that hilarious now. But anyway, I decided I'm going to start taking on clients that I'm going to coach. And this was in the corporate environment. So I started doing that. I left the corporate world. So it's odd how things line up. When you tell the universe what it is you want, how it starts lining up for you. A few months later, our annual bonus was announced. It was one of the largest bonuses that we'd received in the company, percentage-wise. And not only were they announcing it, but they were also giving it to us 6 months early than they'd ever done in the past.
Oh,
And I texted my husband and I said, we're getting our bonuses early and this is the number. And I knew it was enough for the amount of money that I brought into our family at that point for us to live on for a year. And it felt like divine intervention. Okay. And he said, as soon as that money hits your bank account, you put in your notice. He's like, I don't care if you're ready. I don't care that you're not at the income level that you wanted to do and all. This is your time. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And actually, we removed Netflix. We tried to take down as many expenses as we possibly could, preparing ourselves for this. And it's so interesting how things work. So that was in April of 2017 that the money hit my bank account in March and I gave them a month's notice and I was like, I'm out. And I left and then it took an entire year. So April of 2018 was when really money started happening inside of the business. And what was coaching people in the corporate world, but so many of them wanted to get out of their corporate job that I was like, I can help you with that. I'm great at helping you land interviews, talk about your skill sets and all these things. So I took a piece of what I had been doing because I was really in efficiency and all the things that I actually do now. But I saw this opening and this great way to make money. And so I started doing that. I coached about 2,500 people through that process, was featured in Forbes in 2020 for that work. And all of a sudden, the doors opened for the other piece and the second chapter, if you will. And what I do now, I ended up in a mastermind with all these $1 million businesses, definitely had imposter syndrome going in because I was like, I just created this in my literally, it was in my kid's playroom on the floor and with a whiteboard, right?
yeah.
And I started selling it and people loved it and they referred me and then it just blew up into this whole business. Who am I to be here with all these people?
Yeah.
And at the time, by the way, as my business had grown, I had hired contractors to help me. And we just ran like a well-oiled machine. Like I can go on vacation, things worked. I didn't feel this huge pull to be in it all the time. And I get into this mastermind very much like, why am I here? And I find out very quickly why it is. Because the business owners that were sitting in that room were running on fumes. They were doing things themselves. They didn't have processes documented. So they were having to recreate the wheel every time. They didn't know how to train people. They weren't stopping to train people. They weren't really hiring the right people. There were just so many things, and a lot of mismanagement of money as well, because a lot of these businesses, as they grow, were like throwing money at a problem. And
Mm.
my mom used to tell me that there's nothing that a phone and a credit card can't solve. While I agree with this, and I do think that's important, sometimes we can get too reliant on that and not stopping for a second and solving these problems that maybe don't need money and could save us money. In this mastermind, I just started helping people. I just started sharing with them, have you thought about this? When you interview for this job, why don't you do this? And what about a job description like this? And a couple of the guys in the group set me down one night at one of the events, and they were like, what are you doing? They were like, why are you not selling your operational efficiency? And I was like, because it's just what I do and nobody wants that. And they were like, yeah, there's a room full of business owners that are lapping up everything you say about business efficiency. Pretty sure that you've got some takers. And they actually said at that point, the course that I was selling, because I had turned it into an online course, was about like $400. I was selling it for $400. And I felt like that was, oh my gosh, it's $400 and nobody's going to buy this. And they were like, we want you to stand up tomorrow, because I was going to do what they call a hot seat, stand up in front of the group and pitch them your $20,000 offer of working with them and embedding yourself in their business. And I was like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
What? And then, you know what? I said, and these were two guys that to this day I highly respect and I love deeply. And they would never say that maliciously or anything. So I was like, you know what? If they believe in me that much, why don't I believe in me that much? And so I stood up in front of this group, talked about my business, how it was working, and said, and I want to embed myself in 3 businesses. I just said 3 business. Like, I don't even know where it came from, but I was like, I want to embed myself in 3 businesses for 6 months for $20,000. Hands shot up in that room. Yes,
Wow.
I'm ready. I would love for you to be a part of our business. Yes. Can I do a payment plan? And I was like, wait, what is happening? This is wild.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, really, because those 3 businesses taught me so much about, yeah, I was supposed to be in that room. And what got me in that room was not what was going to move me forward, but it got me there. And the skill set that I have that I was using in the corporate world, that I actually have 2 degrees in, is really what I love. It's my bread and butter. And at this point, I've worked with about 100 different businesses. And I absolutely love what I do in terms of helping these small business owners see the gifts and talents that they have in themselves, not throwing money at it, saving money, saving time, slowing down a bit, and simplifying. And so it's been such a fun journey, but not straight by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes. I love it. There's just so many things in your story that are so relatable. And going back to the beginning and watching this layoff happen, and I, I'm newer to the corporate world, and last year we had a layoff, and it really was like so hard for me because it was really my first time going through that. And I think that there is something to be said about companies looking at people as numbers rather than hearts. I love how you put that. And I think it's just one example of taking a moment to reflect on, okay, is this where I want to, is it the environment I want to be in? Can I handle when this happens? Because this isn't going to be the only time, right? Going to happen because you're in corporate, period. And if not, then what else? Yeah, what else am I going to do? We always, as human beings, we take like our pain and we make it into our purpose, right?
Mm.
And so having that painful moment makes you stop and reflect, what do I really want? And I think that's so important for us to make space for that time to reflect.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And in that reflection, I realized something else that happened there was I was chasing somebody else's dream, meaning I was really trying to impress everyone around me versus what I do now on a daily basis. I'm like, oh, I get to learn something new. I get to see this new thing. I am becoming a better version of myself every day. And I am proud of that. I am proud of me. Not, oh my gosh, I wish Phil, this was my boss in the corporate world, Phil, love Phil Mitchell, greatest guy ever, unfortunately passed away a few years ago from a heart attack because he worked himself into that, which was horrible. But I cared so deeply about what he thought of me. Do I work hard enough? Am I staying late enough? Am I contributing enough in meetings? Am I sending the right emails? What does Phil want? Does Phil like me? Not, gosh, I really love what I do. And I'm so excited that I get to learn something new. That
Yeah.
was not it at all. And I feel like when we embrace it, actually, whether you're in the corporate world or in your own business, when you are so fixated on what others think of you,
Mm.
it becomes a game of chase. Like you're just chasing something that you're chasing a ghost. You can't ever catch it. And so when you finally slow down a bit and you realize, what is it that I want? I realized, wow, there's this song, this Coldplay song, Feels Like Falling in Love. It's a fairly recent song, maybe the last couple of years. And I heard this the other day and I was like, anybody that's listening to this, I want them to play this song and think about that song as you singing it to you. It's
Mm.
about you falling in love with you. And once you do that, it's like the world becomes your oyster.
Yeah. I just love the way that you put that because that's what I was trying to get at in like this question that was crossing my mind in regards to not worrying about what other people think of you, but doing what you want and what makes you feel the best about yourself. And so do you have any advice on how to start doing that, to start loving yourself more, or is things that people can do to?
100%. One of the things that I'm going to say is going to just fly in the face of anything that anyone that's listening to this is doing right now. And it's 2 words: slow down. If you think about it on a daily basis, our calendars are full, our lives are full of all these to-dos, all these things that we're supposed to be doing. And I like to think of it as we're on like a speed train. And if you're on a speed train, if you look out the window, you can't see anything. It's just like a mishmash of colors and it's a blur. And don't get me wrong, sometimes being on that speed train's fun, right? If you're like going to some great destination. The problem is that most of us are chasing that ghost. That train is not going anywhere. It's just perpetually speeding along and we're missing everything that's happening in front of us.
Mm.
So the first step is to slow down. And I actually did this after that specific event. I came home and decided for 5 days I was going to do nothing. And I am a hyper action taker, finisher, list checker offer. That's a technical term that I learned in my MBA program. And there was a part of me, there was this pull, right? That was like, how about for 5 days you just sit and you meditate? I'm a big meditator, and you journal and you just think about what is it that you want? If money is not the object, if time is not a problem, where do you want to be and why? And those 5 days changed my life because that helped me reassess the things that I didn't want anymore, the things that I was going to give up on, which one of them was this program that had gotten me in that room with all of those business owners. I decided to let it go and no longer promote it and move fully into this complete unknown that I had 3 people that believed in me. And I thought, if I don't put my whole heart into this, if I've got 1 foot over here and 1 foot over here, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And logically, it made no sense. Emily, you're going to let go of a monthly income that is significant and great for this thing that you know very little about, that people have, by the way, promised to pay you, but nobody is giving you any money yet. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds real smart. But you know what though? There was a part of me that was like, again, slowing down and listening to my heart. I'm not going to chase anything anymore. This is going to be what I do. And so slowing down, and I still do this periodically where I'm like, all right, all these things are happening. Just last week, I had a moment where I'm working with 10 different businesses right now, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love everything that I'm doing. But I saw a project that I knew needed my attention, and it needed about 2 to 3 undivided hours of attention for me to give them a real great idea of what I felt like we needed to do and how we needed to do it. And I reached out and I said, I just need you to know that I've got to put this off for 2 weeks because there's these other things that I've got going on and I'm not giving it the time that it deserves. So look, can we focus on it in 2 weeks? And this woman actually ended up calling me yesterday. I was at lunch with another client and I was driving home and she was texting me and I said, just call me. I'm driving. So this is perfect timing. And she said, what's interesting is that the thing that I wanted you to work on, I actually solved on my own. And what I would rather us focus on are X, Y, and Z. And I was like, again, it felt like divine intervention where my brain was like, I cannot take this on right now. And I need to be upfront about what it needs to be. And then for her to come back and say, awesome, because I solved it on my own, which is what I want for all of my clients.
Right.
And then let's focus on these things were more strategic, which is really what I wanted to focus on anyway. I was like, couldn't be happier with this.
Yeah.
And it was only because I slowed down and I was real with myself about the time that was available to me, all of the work that I was doing for the clients that I was doing. And I didn't, one of my goals is to give exceptional work so that when you receive anything from me, you're like, this exceeded my expectations.
Right.
But in order for me to do that, I have to be very authentically real with you about one, how possible it is that what you're asking me, because I'm not like solving world hunger or something like that. Although I did write that on a to-do list of one of my clients last week just because I was being funny. And they wrote in parentheses because I didn't realize they'd seen the agenda. I think you can do it. They were so I was like, that's so kind. Thank you for thinking very highly of that. But I just think being authentic with people and being real about what's possible and sharing with them, I can do this for you. What you're asking is probably about a 10 to 15 hour project. And it's going to take me probably a month to do that. Are you okay with that? And again, now that I'm not chasing, I'm not worried about people liking me. I'm being honest. It gives me the time for the magic to come in. Because that's what happens when I give myself those 10 to 15 hours. I create magic.
Yeah. I love that. I read a quote recently and it said something about expect magic. And so I wrote that down like on my board. So I love that you're using that term because we can start noticing it when it happens, what we're doing that has led to that feeling of I can create this thing. And then we can say, I know how long it will take me. I know what I need in order to accomplish this. And then you can deliver that high value that you're capable of and that's your goal of. But I love that. And I love the not chasing piece. If we are our authentic selves and we go into something being honest and open about what we're capable of doing, and that person is not willing to receive it, then they're not the person that is meant to work with us, right? And it's letting go of that. Oh my gosh, I need this contract or I need this business to want me. Like when you were talking about how you had those 3 businesses lined up and nobody paid you anything yet. It's okay, but remember all those hands that went up in the room when I just asked for 3? Like maybe business number 2 doesn't pay me, but guess what? I got more opportunity over here and I'm not trying to control it. I'm not worried because I know, I know because of the things that I've done to prepare myself to be here right now.
Okay, so I have a really great story about exactly what you were saying. A year ago, I was working with a business that decided to pay me, I'll just say, an obscene amount of money. I felt like it was an obscene amount of money. And I was like, okay, this sounds great. Be leery of obscene amounts of money being thrown at you because you don't know what they're asking, right?
Yeah.
They wanted a pound of flesh, an arm, and a leg. I didn't really realize this until I got into it. And
Yeah.
every month that I was a part of this agreement, my soul was getting sucked out. It felt
Right.
not at all with what I was wanting to do. The mission of the organization wasn't something that I was 100% behind. It was like at every turn, it wasn't where I was supposed to be, but I was blinded by this obscene amount of money. And finally, in May of last year, said, I have to part ways. It's just not aligning with where I want to be. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And it's so interesting how, again, the universe is good. You saw your worth there. All right. A few months go by, and I was jumping on a call with a client who happened to be late. And my doorbell rang, and my office is right next to my front door. So I thought and they were standing there. You know how you can tell if it's like an Amazon driver or somebody standing there. So I thought, okay, they're not joining my call yet. So I'm just going to go answer the door for a minute. And it was somebody selling roof services. And I am thinking in my mind, I don't have time for this. I'm so not interested in this. But I said, there was something in me that said, just listen, just be kind and listen, because this is a business trying to make money. Listen to their thing. I start talking to this gentleman and saying, I'm not really the roofing decision person in my house. Like, I make a lot of decisions, but that's not one of them.
Yeah.
And let me leave my card and all of this. And then I said, I've got to jump on a call because I'm actually working right now. And they were like, oh, what do you do? So I start talking about helping small businesses and efficiency and all of this. Their face changes. And they're like, I need to tell you a secret. I'm actually the owner of my company and we're going through some changes. I need to hire you.
Yeah.
He hired me for the exact same price that this other person had let me go, that I decided to part ways with months before.
Wow.
Wild situation.
Yeah.
And that partnership has been extraordinary. It has been one of the best. I would consider this one of the best people I've ever met in my whole life. And I just think that when you see your worth, the universe is like, all right, got you. I got you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you have to take that leap of, nope, I know my worth. I'm walking away and proving that I know my worth, right? Like you were in that job for however many months, just like floundering and questioning all the things. But once you made the decision, it's okay. You're ready to level up or whatever you want to call it. And now I know you're serious about what you want. Yeah. So I love that example. Thank you for sharing that story. And I think it's really valuable for people to hear real life examples of that so that they can be like motivated or encouraged or see that there is magic to be had,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There are miracles to notice in our lives. And if we can open ourselves up, like in that moment, we're like, oh, I'm just too busy to blah, blah, blah. Let me slow down. Again, it was slowing down.
Oh,
Let me
100%.
slow down. Let me listen. Let me be kind. And it just facilitated this conversation and then this relationship. So, yeah.
100%. 100%.
I want to go back to the part of your story where you talked about going to this conference and helping all these people, and then these guys come up to you and they're like, "What are you doing? You're so good at this. Why aren't you selling this for more?" Like before this, you were doing something else with your talents and skills, but what was it that kind of helped you besides these guys? Like really say, oh yeah, these are my strengths and these are the things that I want to actually use more of.
So it's interesting you say that because when I left the corporate world, I decided to create a course called Leadership. And it was to help middle managers become leaders, people that are going from doer to leader. There's just
Mm.
not a lot of training there. And so originally I had designed this. And every time I pitched it to someone in the corporate world, they were like, I want to get out of my current job. And when I get out of my current job, then I would like to do this other thing.
Mhm.
And so that's when I created, it was called Market Me, my Market Me program, because enough people said that to me. And by the way, I was getting poorer and poorer. So at some point, I was going to paint somebody's house. I was like, I'll do whatever. Somebody asked me to design their website. You don't want me to do that. But you know what? I did it for this poor woman that I hope has gotten it redone since. It was really running on fumes. And I feel like desperation, it wasn't even desperation necessarily. It was just like, okay, I got to make something work. And enough people had asked me for this other thing, even knowing I'd built leadership. I was like, you know what? I can go do this other thing because I did it. I hired and fired and did all of these other things in the corporate world. I can use these skills too.
Mm.
So it was always step two for me to go back to leadership. And people that took my Market Me course, I would try to upsell them into this. And I was like, and now that you've got your new job, don't you want this leadership program? And it was always like, it was like they just never took to it. And what was so interesting about the hot seat that I was supposed to be on was how do I grow leadership? That was the hot seat
Yeah.
that was going to happen the next day. And what happened the night before that was so divine was that it wasn't that my product was wrong. It was that my audience was wrong.
Mm.
And that I realized the program that I had created, this leadership program going from doer to leader, was for business owners, not for middle managers in the corporate world.
Okay.
I didn't know that when I started out because when I started out, I was fresh out of the corporate world and I was a doer again as a business owner. But this whole journey was in the right order. It was all logical in the end.
Mm.
So when they were like, oh no, you need to sell this to business owners. Now, did a lot of the lessons change? Absolutely. Because as a business owner, it's a different conversation than a middle manager,
Yeah.
but only slightly. And then there's a lot more decision making and power that a business owner has that a middle manager doesn't. So there were some easier conversations to have with a business owner, harder decisions for the business owner, but easier conversations to have. And so it was wild to me how this thing that I'd put on the back burner, I kept putting it on the back burner because this other program kept growing. And I was like, man, I want to go back to this. This is where my heart is. And then it presented itself in such a different way. So that's how that really came about, which is wild.
Yeah. I feel like maybe a theme that is coming up is this idea of looking for and being open to opportunities. And can you maybe talk about how you've cultivated that kind of response to your own entrepreneurial journey of being open and looking for those things or paying attention
Yes,
more?
100%. So I very much believe, like I told you, slowing down is important. Every morning when I wake up, I read a series of affirmations. I used to think that sounded ridiculous, but I will tell you scientifically why this matters. I had to rewire my brain. And all of us need to do this, by the way. We are naturally designed to run away from the bear, not run into traffic. If somebody throws something at you, you got to duck, you got to get out of the way. Why I'm mentioning all those things is those are threats. So it's a threat to your survival. I don't know about you, but I have not been chased by a bear and nobody has thrown anything at me in a long time. And I have 2 children and they don't throw things at me. I'm feeling pretty safe. I feel like I can let go of some of these like natural run away from the bear tendencies. What I need to latch onto is how to thrive, not how to survive.
Mm.
And in order for me to thrive, I have to start looking at my environment as possibilities, not threats. And the only way to do that is to start my day by drilling into myself. I start with, I am feeling great. I feel rested. And then my day starts slowly.
Mm.
Everyone is supporting me. I'm being guided and taught. And slowly but surely, it's, you know what? That is 100% happening to me. And so then that fight or flight calms down and you naturally start to see these opportunities and these things. Now, I will say, I'm not saying I say yes to everything. What I'm also able to do in these possibilities and opportunities and staying open is to read my internal compass. All of us have it. And when I slowed down, that's when mine woke back up. And that's what you're going to need to do is slow down to let it wake back up. And I have to decide when somebody says something to me and my knee-jerk reaction is no, why? Is it because I don't actually want to do the thing? Or is it because I'm afraid because I don't know it yet? And those are two very different emotions if I sit with them. Ooh, the thought of doing that. If you said, Emily, can you do my taxes for me? Absolutely not. You don't want me doing that. My soul dies. Could I figure it out? Sure. You don't want me doing taxes. I got a D in accounting in college. Absolutely, you don't want me to do this. Do I know how to talk to an accountant and ask great questions and get your accounting done well? Oh, of course. If you want me to do that all day long, I will not do your taxes for you. With this in mind, I have to sit with a thought for a minute and say, am I bristling because this is an opportunity for me to step up my game and learn something and that's scary? Or is it because it's making my soul die? And what I have found is that the majority of things are the first thing that I mentioned, where I'm a little bit scared of that opportunity. But I feel like life is a series of unfolding. Every single day, we are becoming the version of ourselves that we are supposed to be. And I love getting older because I feel like every year I'm coming home to myself more and more. And now when I get these opportunities and I bristle, I'm like, oh, that's just the pathway home. And it's dark because I've never been down there, but I think I'm going to try. I'm going to give that a shot. And I always learn and I'm always so excited.
I love that. You said it so beautifully too. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. I just love this conversation and everything you're mesmerizing as you share your thoughts and your experience and your beliefs. And so I'm just so grateful that you're here today and sharing with me and my audience. But can you tell people a little bit about what your services are? I know you have a book coming in, like all of those things, how they can learn more from you or get help from you.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. So I want to make anything that I do as accessible to people as humanly possible. So if you go on my website, which is Emily Hawkins, all one word, the number 4, the letter U.com, you will see several different opportunities. One is to take a quiz to see what area of your business you need to focus on first, because a lot of us get really freaked out about, I need to do this and this and this. And what I have done when I created this diagnostic is for you to be able to focus on one thing. It actually affects all those other things and fixes a lot of them without you having to do the whack-a-mole game.
Yeah.
So there's that. It's completely free. You do not have to ever talk to me. So enjoy that. It comes with a PDF of exactly step-by-step how to do that in your business to save you money and time. Another thing that I have over there is if you're curious about your leadership skills. So it is a quiz on your ability as a leader, your specific skill set as a leader. Again, you don't have to talk to me. You will learn all about yourself, the good, the not so good. Because guess what? There is no leadership that you're not going to get a report and be like, everything is perfect. You are amazing. Go with God. There's always a downfall. But here's what I will say. It's really just a call to the right support that you need. So if you're a certain type of business owner, you need this type of support. If you're this certain type of business owner, you need this type of support. And that to me is helpful. So you can download that as well. You can take the quiz and get your report on the type of business owner that you are and how to actually implement this in your business right away, talking to your team about it. And yeah, those are the best ways to get in touch with me. The book will probably be out in a few years, so we're not,
Oh,
but I really like that you mentioned it. Received. Those are the best ways. Again, it's Emily Hawkins, all one word, the number 4, the letter U.com.
okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing that and for sharing everything else and being here today. I really enjoyed our conversation and meeting you. So
Yeah, thank you so much, Brittany. This has been so kind and wonderful. You ask great questions.
thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Career Change for Women podcast. If you've loved this episode, leave a review. It helps more women find the show. Feeling stuck in your career? Let's connect. Follow me on social media at shiftyourdayjob or email me at shiftyourdayjob@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Brittany Cates. Let's shift your day job together.